It was a crisp winter morning in Manhattan, and Trump Tower stood tall as ever, a symbol of ambition, controversy, and relentless pursuit of success. Inside its golden doors, Donald Trump, now past his presidency, sat at the head of a polished mahogany table, flipping through reports about his latest business ventures. His political chapter had ended, but the fire in his eyes showed that his journey was far from over. That day, however, was different. Scheduled to arrive any moment was none other than Elon Musk, tech visionary, billionaire, and the man redefining the future of humanity. Their paths had often crossed in headlines, sometimes in conflict, sometimes in admiration, but never in person. This was their first real meeting. Two titans from two very different worlds, one forged in steel, real estate, and public spectacle, the other in silicon, rockets, and silent disruption. Trump was intrigued, not just by Elon's inventions, but by his refusal to follow rules. This wasn't just a business meeting, it was a quiet storm in the making. A conversation that would test their pride, challenge their beliefs, and set the stage for a story about power, ego, humility, and what it truly means to build a legacy. Elon Musk entered the room without the usual entourage or noise that accompanied high-profile figures. Dressed in a plain black jacket and holding his phone like it was an extension of his mind, he greeted Trump with a firm nod. Trump stood up, extending his hand with a half-smile, not out of politeness, but curiosity. As they sat across from each other, the air thickened with unspoken tension. For a moment, there was silence. Two giants scanning each other like chess players before the first move. Trump spoke first, with his signature confidence. "You've built impressive things, Elon. But you know, business isn't just about rockets and code." Elon leaned back, his gaze steady. "And politics isn't just about headlines and walls," he replied calmly. A faint smirk crossed Trump's face. He liked a man who didn't flinch. Beneath the subtle verbal jabs was a deeper energy. Both men knew this meeting wasn't just about a potential partnership. It was about testing each other's minds, finding weaknesses, and perhaps discovering something unexpected. Respect. As the conversation unfolded, what began as casual business talk slowly shifted into something more personal. Trump, leaning forward with elbows on the table, began to speak about his early days. The failures, the media attacks, the isolation that came with success. "People see the gold and the towers," he said, tapping his finger on the polished wood. "But they don't see the nights I couldn't sleep, the deals that nearly broke me, or the way power changes how everyone treats you." Elon listened quietly, not interrupting, only nodding occasionally. Then, almost unexpectedly, he spoke. "I know that silence too. The kind that fills your ears when a rocket explodes and people call you crazy for even trying." For a moment, there was no ego in the room, just two men who had carried the weight of empires on their shoulders, who had been called both geniuses and fools. In that brief silence, a strange connection formed. They were competitors in ideology, perhaps, but brothers in battle, and neither of them had forgotten the cost of climbing too high. After nearly an hour of intense dialogue, Trump stood up and walked to the massive window overlooking Fifth Avenue. With his back to Elon, he said, "You know, they thought I was done after the presidency, that I'd fade into the background, but I've never been good at staying silent." Elon remained seated, eyes fixed on Trump's reflection in the glass. "Then why are we really here, Donald?" he asked, his voice calm but probing. Trump turned around, slower this time, the usual bravado replaced with something more grounded. "Because I've built towers, run countries, faced storms, but the future?" He paused, then added, "The future needs more than bricks, it needs ideas. And whether I like it or not, you've got plenty of them." Elon raised an eyebrow, surprised. Trump wasn't known for giving credit so easily. "So you're saying we work together?" he asked. Trump smiled faintly. "I'm saying maybe it's time to build something that outlives both our egos." That was the moment when their rivalry took a sharp turn, from opposition to possibility. In the weeks that followed, private meetings between Trump and Elon Musk became more frequent, always away from the press, always behind closed doors. While the media speculated wildly, the two were working on something far bigger than a joint venture. They were envisioning a futuristic city, a symbol of innovation and freedom, powered entirely by clean energy and driven by private enterprise. But as plans developed, their differences began to resurface. Trump insisted on grand visuals, classic architecture, his name engraved in gold at every corner. Elon, on the other hand, pushed for minimalism, efficiency, and a city run by algorithms, not personalities. One afternoon, their discussion turned into a heated argument. "You still think everything needs your name on it to matter?" Elon snapped. Trump fired back. "And you think the world will follow a man who can't even make eye contact during a speech?" The room fell silent. It was a clash of vision versus legacy, future versus past. The project, once filled with hope, now hung by a thread, and the question echoed louder than ever. Could two men so driven by different forces ever build something together without tearing it apart? The tension grew heavier with each passing day, and what once felt like a powerful alliance now resembled a fragile truce. Trump began to feel sidelined, watching engineers, coders, and architects take instructions from Elon without even glancing his way. The city they were planning, once his idea of a bold comeback, was slowly morphing into Musk's futuristic dream. Cold, efficient, and data-driven. One evening, after a long meeting, Trump stayed behind in the empty conference room, staring at the holographic layout of the city on the screen. He felt something he hadn't felt in years. Doubt. Was he becoming irrelevant in a world that now worshipped technology over personality? Meanwhile, Elon, sitting alone in his electric car outside, stared at the dashboard silently. He too was troubled, not by the project, but by the uneasy realization that despite all his intellect, he had never learned how to truly work with someone, especially someone like Trump. Both men, in their solitude, were beginning to see the flaw not in the vision, but in themselves. And sometimes that is the hardest lesson power teaches. The following morning, Trump did something unexpected. He visited one of Elon's Tesla research labs without any cameras, media, or assistants. Wearing a plain overcoat and a red cap with no slogans, he walked through the sleek glass corridors, watching young engineers work with a focus that reminded him of his early days. One of them, not recognizing him at first, casually explained how a new battery prototype could power a home for weeks. Trump nodded, genuinely listening, feeling strangely inspired. Later that day, he met Elon in the cafeteria. No boardroom, no speeches. "I saw your people," Trump said, sitting down with a cup of black coffee. "They're building the future, and I want in, but not as a nameplate, as a student." Elon looked up, surprised. Trump continued, "I've built empires with steel and stone, but this is something else. If we're going to build this city, it can't be yours or mine. It has to be ours, equal." For the first time, Elon smiled, a rare, honest one. It wasn't a truce sealed by words, it was sealed by humility. With a new understanding between them, the project took on a different energy. Meetings no longer felt like silent battles. They became sessions of genuine collaboration. Trump began listening more, often deferring to Elon's technical insights, while Elon, for the first time, started to appreciate the power of Trump's instincts about people, timing, and public perception. They redesigned the city's plan together, merging Elon's vision of smart systems with Trump's flair for symbolism and storytelling. Towers would still reach the skies, but they'd be powered by solar fields shaped like eagles. Transportation would be autonomous, but every route would pass through community centers built on values of hard work and resilience. The city wasn't just becoming a blueprint, it was becoming a message to the world. Two giants from different worlds can build something greater when ego gives way to purpose. And as construction began, the world watched in disbelief. For the first time in years, Donald Trump and Elon Musk weren't in headlines for controversy, they were in them for hope. Months passed, and the world began to see the fruits of their collaboration. The city, once a mere concept, was now rising from the ground. Its foundations built on a strange but powerful partnership. People marveled at the way the old and the new had merged so seamlessly. As Trump and Elon stood on the rooftop of the first completed building, looking over the city that bore their combined vision, Trump couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. "You know," Trump said, his voice quieter now, "I used to think it was all about winning, about being the last one standing." Elon glanced at him, his eyes thoughtful. "And now?" Trump smirked, the old bravado creeping back into his tone. "Now, I think it's about building something that outlives us." Something that shows the world that two people with entirely different views can still create something beautiful. Elon nodded, a sense of peace settling in him. The city was a success, not because of their wealth, but because of their willingness to evolve, learn, and trust each other. As the sun set over the new city, Trump and Elon stood side by side, watching the skyline light up. The bustling streets below were filled with families, workers, and children, all moving seamlessly through a city designed for the future. It was a testament to what could be achieved when two very different minds put aside their egos for the greater good. Trump turned to Elon, a smile crossing his face. "You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad I met you, Elon." Elon looked at him, a rare smile breaking through. "I think I learned as much from you as you did from me." For the first time, the rivalry that had once defined them was gone, replaced by a sense of mutual respect and understanding. They had built more than just a city. They had built a legacy. And as they walked together into the heart of the city, they realized that sometimes the most powerful partnerships are the ones that teach you something about yourself. In the end, it wasn't about who had the biggest name, the most wealth, or the loudest voice. It was about the vision they shared, one that would echo through generations to come.